Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 22nd as well as 23rd February 2024, brought to you by Ganesh Yes Academy. Okay, let's look into the today's newspaper analysis. Mentioned here are the list of articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look into. Okay, let's analyze every article one by one. India exported 6.65 billion worth of products which has been made from Russian oil. A report brought out by a think tank from European Union. So this is what the news is about. Let's look into the explanation part of the news. Okay, under explanation, why the news has appeared is, see, over 1/3 of the India's export of the oil products to the G7 led coalition countries was derived from Russian crude oil. The G7 country is one of the pioneer or one of the spearheader for making sanctions for Russia because of its involvement in the Ukraine war. And the European think tank, what it has said is that, because the European think tank only has brought out the report, and what it has said is that how the partners have shunned the Russian crude and imposed price cap, but at the same time there is loose policy on the refined products which allowed the third countries to use Russian oil and legally export product to them. So there is no restrictions on sanction on buying or using the Russian crude oil and exporting fuels such as diesels which has been derived from it. And the price cap coalition countries like G7, European Union, Australia first set a cap of USD, that is 60 per barrel, and later on the products like diesels to keep the market supplied while limiting the Moscow's revenue. So this is what the news. And then 13 months since the oil price cap has been implemented by the G7 countries as well as the European Union countries and then the Australia. These are all the countries which were involved or spearheaded the effort to make a price cap for the Russian crude oil. After the 13 months since its implementation, nearly 1/3 of the Indian exports of the oil to these countries were made from the Russian bought crude oil, and a huge proportion of this export is coming from the Jamnagar refinery. So this is what the news is about. Let's look into what are all the factors that led to the growth of Indian import of Russian oil. First and foremost, the price cap being set by European Union, G7 as well as the Australia led to reduced Russian oil price, which in turn is led to increased share of India in the import of the Russian crude oil because of the reduced oil price of the Russia during the constrained time, during the period where the supply chain has faced a severe constraint, as a result of which the international crude oil price also got increased, which in turn has reflected negatively in the India's purse. So to avoid such a kind of deficit, India has purchased the Russian crude oil, whose price got reduced because of the price cap being implemented by the European Union as well as the G7 countries. And at the same time, Russia also offered discount for its crude oil to India. So these are all the factors that led to growth in import of the Russian oil in the India's crude basket. And India's perspective on buying. So despite the Western countries' criticism on India buying the Russian crude oil, India has its own interest. So what is the interest based on which the Russian crude oil has been imported is, see, India's objective is not to hurt the economy, which is been recovering from the COVID as well as its related lockdown, because of which the Indian economy got severely affected. So to ensure that the economy is growing seamlessly after the post-pandemic, so India is right now importing the Russian crude oil at the cheaper cost or the discounted price being provided by the Russia. And then European Union dependence on Russian energy has been increasing in the last few years. Similarly, the energy price is crucial for the inclusive growth objective of India because this energy acts as the base for the engine of the economy. If the energy price is going to get reduced, surely uh, the cost of production across the economy will also get reduced, which in turn will act as impetus to the inclusive growth objective of India. So these are all the objectives or the perspective of India for buying the Russian crude oil despite the criticism from Western countries. So what is the benefit from Russian oil is savings by Indian refineries. And then India became the major supplier of refined petro products during this time because of the cheaply available Russian crude oil. So these are all the benefits India had during that time. Similarly, what are the things which we needed to be further aware of is we should be aware of the OPEC. What does the OPEC is? Its structure, function, and overall the member of it. Secondly, we should also be aware of the Gaza war and its impact on India, and then the geography of the Middle East. So these are all the other areas which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. India has vital role to play on the Ukraine, says the Greek PM, who has came to India recently and also attended the Rasina dialogue inauguration. Let's look into the details of the news. See, the Greek Prime Minister, he has said is that, see, India is a consensus builder across the globe and it is the leading democracy of the global south. And India is regarded as the voice of reason in the increasingly polarized world. And the reason why international system was created is the place, it is because of the nation being large or small, they recognize that their interests lay ultimately on the partnership as well as the cooperation with the other countries, not with the antagonism as well as the conflict with other countries. This is the reason why the international system has been born, which is being said by the Greek Prime Minister. And this war, that is the Russian-Ukraine war, is the brutal challenge to the international stability and the international rules based order which India is right now obeying. So India need to take initiative because India is acting as a consensus builder, and at the same time India's voice is also being heard in the international arena. So India need to take an initiative or to spearhead the effort to ease off the Russian-Ukraine war. So this is what the Greek Prime Minister has said India during his recent visit to India. And apart from it, India and Greece agreed to deepen their cooperation in defense manufacturing and space, while at the same time advocating better connectivity between the two countries through IMEC project, which is being signed during the G20 meet. And after holding the talk, Prime Minister also said that they decided that they discussed the migration and mobility partnership agreement between the two countries, and at the same time they also discussed about increasing the effort to faster implementation of IMEC, that is India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. So let's look into India-Greek relationship significance. So Greek acts as the gateway to Europe. So by maintaining a healthy relationship with Greek, India could be able to access the Europe countries, the other part of the countries, and it could be able to counter Chinese influence in the Mediterranean region. And at the same time, India could also counter the influence of Pakistan and Turkey in those regions. Similarly, it will ensure Greek is very important for India to ensure regional stability, and at the same time, Greek is also acting in line with the anti-terrorism objective of India, and then the common vision of rule-based order in the sea. This is the vision where India as well as Greek is aligned. Their objective is aligning. So this is what the significance it holds with regards to the India-Greek relationship. And what it present right now, what are all the present area of cooperation is, see, there has been a regular exchange of head of states, and then there is support for India in multilateral forums like Nuclear Supply Group, MTCR, Wassenaar Group, etc., where Greece is supporting India's membership. Similarly, Greek is also supporting India's leadership in the International Solar Alliance by ratifying the agreement. So these are all the areas where India and Greeks right now been cooperating, which is very important from the perspective of India's national interest and right now they have been discussing more on the defense related thing, and then increasing the defense cooperation to the other thing, other economic areas like manufacturing, services, so on and so forth. And this meeting has been held prior to the Rasina dialogue. So let's discuss about what does this Rasina dialogue is about. It is an annual conference on the geopolitics as well as geoeconomics, aims to address the most challenging issues being faced by the world, and at the same time it held annually since 2016 in New Delhi. So this is what the Rasina dialogue is about, and then it is the organization which is being found by Observer Research Foundation in partnership with Ministry of External Affairs. Similarly, the theme for this year dialogue is Chaturanga: Conflict, Contest, Cooperate and Create. So this is what the theme for this year is about, the Rasina dialogue is about. So what are all the things which we needed to be further aware of? Is should be aware of IMSC, who are all the countries being a member of it, and which are all the trade routes being covered under it. These are all the things which we should see under IMEC corridor project. Secondly, we should also be aware of the European map as well as the Mediterranean Sea map. So these are all the areas which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. CRUDE project focus on allegation against the Satyapal Malik. So recently CBI has conducted 30 raid across 30 places in the country, which includes 3 places being linked to former Jammu Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik. The agency is investigating alleged corruption in award of contract for CRUDE project in Jammu Kashmir Kishtwar project. Okay, let's look into the details of the project. It is being constructed between the existing Kirdai upstream and then Quad downstream hydropower project at an estimated cost of 4287 crore, and it will be developed near the convergence point of river Chenab and the Sengat and then the Bela streams near the Padaranaki and Kiru village in Kishtwar district. The deadline for initiating the commercial operation is by July 25, and it will have 123-meter tall dam from Chena's river bed level, and its reservoir will have a strong capacity of 41.5 million meter cube of water, and the project will have one 700-meter long tunnel and then horseshoe shaped diversion tunnel for the release of excess water, and then the underground powerhouse located at the left bank of the river will have 4 turbines with the capacity of 156 megawatt each, and at the same time it will also help address the energy demand for the northern part of the country, and at the same time it will also ensure that the energy deficit or the energy self-sufficient being achieved in the rural areas of the state, and it could also aid the small scale as well as cottage industries which has been dearth of power or dearth of energy during in this region. So this is what the project is about. Let's look into the other thing. Who developed the project? Who are all the implementers and who are all the developer of the project? The Chenab Valley Power Project Private Limited, which is the joint venture of National Hydropower Corporation as well as the Jammu and Kashmir State Power Development Corporation, and then Power Trading Corporation. So these are all the 3 corporations been involved in forming the joint venture of Chenab Valley Power Project Private Limited, and then both the NHPC and then JKS PDC have stake 49% each, and the remaining 2% is with PTC. And the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change awarded the scoping clearance for the project in September 2008, and then it re-evaluated for the installed capacity of 624 megawatt in September 2015, and then the environment clearance has been got from the ministry during 2016, and the approval from the State Administrative Council was also bought during 2019, and the completion is expected by 2023. So this is what the timeline of the project is about and the implementers of the project is about. And what is the allegation that has been faced? What is the allegation the project is now been facing is, see, the FIR which has been filed by the CBI alleges that the guidelines for e-tendering or awarding the project has been as faced or are suffered because of certain nullified activities like corruption and favoritism. So this is what the allegation being faced by this project based on the FIR that has been made by the CBI. So what are all the things which we needed to be further aware of? Is should be aware of Jammu and Kashmir geography, and then hydropower in India, as well as the crude import by India, which are all the countries which are member of which are all the countries being involved, or from which country this crude oil is being imported from imported to India. And we should also be aware of the energy baskets, or the share of the different proportion of the energies in India. So this is what the news is about, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. So CBSE open book exam plan, what is it, why now, how it can impact students? So the news is related to the recent announcement by CBSE to try out the open book exam in some part of the state, so that they could be able to learn what are all the difficulties in implementation, so that they could be able to have a review of it, and then so that they could rectify the open book exam, and this, which in turn will enable them to implement across the country. So this is what the news is about. Look, let's look into the explanation of the news. CBSE, as I said, has proposed a pilot study to check the feasibility of open book exam for class 9 to 12, and the pilot will be held in select schools in November, December for subjects like English, Maths, Science for class 9 and 10, and English, Maths, Biology in class 11 and 12. CBSE has proposed this form of assessment based on National Curriculum Framework, and the board aims to study the time taken by students to complete such tests and gather feedbacks of teachers and students. So based on this feedback, this open book exam will get rectified, revamped, so that it will enable the CBSE to implement across the country. And what is this open book examination? See, in open book exam, students are allowed to refer their books and notes to answer the question. It can be of two types. One is the restricted type, and another is the free type. In the restricted type and the restricted open book exam or the assessment, only the study materials that has been approved by the exam conducting authority will be allowed. On the other hand, the free type students or the free type exam, any book could be allowed. So this is what the thing is. Unlike the closed book exam, the questions in the open book exam are structured in a way that students have to apply concept. They have to think the concept instead of just copying the information from the book and then writing it on the paper. So to overcome the rote learning or the rote mugging up of the concepts, this open book concept is being implemented. And is this a new concept? No. Open book exam are not new in India. In 2014, CBSE has introduced an open book based exam to relieve the students from the burden of mugging up, that is rote learning, and acquire the skill of processing the information. Back then, this OTBA was introduced, that is the open book exam introduced in class 9 for Hindi, English, Maths and Science, Social Science, and final exam of class 11 in subjects like Economics, Biology and Geography. And also the board discontinued this exam during 2017-18 academic year because of its inabilities to cultivate the critical abilities among the students. And at the same time, during the pandemic, this open book exam was conducted across the different higher educational institutions. Are this exam easier? So contrary to the popular opinion, open book assessment are not easier than the traditional closed book exams. Why? Because they are designed to test the learning beyond facts and definitions. For teachers to setting up of the questions for the open book exam is quite difficult when compared to the closed book exam. So why CBSE has proposed open book exam now? See, the CBSE has proposal falls in line with the larger reforms that has been planned in school education. This open book examination has nowhere mentioned in the National Education Policy 2020, which one of the primary reforms it suggests is the transition from rote memorization to competency based learning. For instance, if a student should not just learn the concept of photosynthesis, but they also should demonstrate the process, and also at the same time they should also be able to apply those processes in the real time. So this is what the reason why it has been implemented. Similarly, the national curriculum framework for school education highlights the need to reform the current assessment process, which is at best focused on measuring the raw learning rather than the creativity. So to overcome this, what the national curriculum framework has suggested is that so the assessment can accommodate different learning styles of students and provide constructive feedback and support the learning outcomes. So this is what the reason why the CBSE has proposed the open book exam now. And what does the research say about the open book exam? See, according to the study conducted among the medical students of all India, that is the AIMS, Bhubaneswar 21, open book exam have the benefit of being less stressful. And at the same time, a pilot study also been conducted by Cambridge University Press. What it has said is that, see, open book examination is has some advantage in terms of reducing the stress. This is what the output, or this is what the result of the study being conducted by the Cambridge University Press. So both the AIMS Bhubaneswar as well as the Cambridge University Press, their study has resulted in their study has a same result only. That is, this open book examination will have the stress-free environment or the stress-free exam. And during 2021, a study has been conducted by Dhananjay Ashri and then Bibu P. Shahu on the open book exam. What they have said is that, see, the open book exam is higher than the marks scored by the open book exam is higher when compared to the closed book exam by the students. But the universities which is implementing the open book exam did not focus on developing the skill required for a student to crack the open book exam. So this is one of the lack being identified during the study by the Dhananjay Ashri and then Bibu P. Shahu. And another study will also been conducted by Nirma Universities, Nitin Pillai and Mamta Pillai in 22. What it has stressed is that they need to train the students on how to write an open book exam and develop skills to analyze the concept rather than rote learning of the rote mugging up of the concepts. So this is what the different studies outcome being brought out by various organizations across different period of time. And what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of the national education policy, then the schemes for education, and then AICTE as well as University Grants Commission, their structure, function as well as objective. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's move on to today's practice prelims question. Mentioned here is the today's practice prelim question. So those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. So this, we have reached the end of today's session. Please do like, comment, share as well as subscribe Ganesh IAS YouTube channel so that you will be receiving daily current affair notification and also weekly environmental and science and tech notification. Thank you.